URL. Uniform Resource Locator. Here is an example. This is actually my web portal address. Let's dip into it. Very fast, HTTP. This is a protocol. Gives you the directory for a web portal. And of course, the host name. Here is my host name is nextgen.edu.bd. Of course, I will split into later and explain more about this host name. And of course, the last part is extension, or we could call this one as a file name. And if before a domain name, this means this is actually a subdomain. And of course, we know this is a domain name. We already know. And the ICT stands for a directory. And last one is the file name or the extension, of course. And the HSC also called the third level domain, and NextGen, the very middle part of the IP address, is called second level domain. And afterward, edu.bd, this is actually a top level domain. This is actually divided into two parts. First of all, edu stands for this web portal defined as the educational web page or web portal, and .bd, the country location where it actually located. So top level domain is representing the type of the IP or type of the domain, and of course where is actually located. And the subdomain and the domain name together, we could call it host name. And of course, the directory and the file name is called the path. How the browser should access the resources. In that case, we need a protocol. What is the action, or what is the parameter of a protocol? Protocol that actually enables communication between different systems and transferring information and the data over a network. There are two types of protocol. First of all, here the HTTP Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Another one is Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. The basic distinction between these two protocols is offer security at the bottom one, where we can see there is a security system available within the HTTPS protocol. And of course, the protocol of HTTPS have got the encrypted data given between the browser and the website. And of course, the protocol have got SSL and TSL certificate to protect sensitive information such as password, payment system, and some other personal information. And the very important thing is, if you haven't got the HTTPS protocol, in that case, there is a chance to have eavesdropping and data tampering. In that case, if we have got HTTPS protocol, in that case, we can prevent eavesdropping and data tampering effect by the hackers. Let's dig into it. Distinction between HTTP and HTTPS. HTTP is a protocol where communicate via internet. The data is very plain text, meaning it is unencrypted and can be easily read by anyone from anywhere, and very vulnerable to eavesdropping, whereas the HTTP is encryption and authentication to prevent the data transfer, data tampering, and of course have got the SSL and TSL certificate to encryption, and unreadable without any decryption key, ensure the data hasn't been tampered when we're transferring from browser to server, and of course verify the identity of anyone when the website server to prevent spoofing. Understanding HTML text. What is HTML tags? So there is an example of an element of a HTML tags. So the p tag in between the angle bracket and the school of next gen, then angle of bracket and front slash of p. This is actually the whole element of a HTML code, right? The very first p angle bracket, obviously this is the opening tag, and the right one is the closing tag. In between opening and the closing tag is called content, and from the opening tag to closing tag, this is the elements. And obviously the all code or the code of HTML, actually a bundle of elements or bundle of elements, is called the HTML code. And here is some example of HTML code. Like first one is paragraph tag, second one is heading 1, second one is heading 2. So this is actually the HTML tag. There are some elements. Elements actually the tags and the contents within the tag is called elements. When there are bundle of elements are consisting together, it calls structure. So the structure of HTML, actually the definition of content and the organization of web portal that consisting of several key components. Let's have a look. The very first one is the doc type. Doc type is the specification of HTML that actually interpret the documents. And obviously the basic structure have got two parts. One is head section, another one is body section. Let's dive into the deep. So here we have an observation. The HTML structure exactly compared with the human. So the head exactly look like the human head, and body obviously the human body. Now the very first part is HTML. HTML actually the root element of HTML structure. All elements are contained within it. It means that all the elements, it means that the different type of elements, different type of tags will be within the HTML code. Afterward, the head. Head actually used to contain page, HTML metadata, information not directly visible on the web page, but it is very significant for the HTML code and the website as well. And obviously the title under the head that actually specifies the title that appears in the browser. And afterward, the very important part, which actually the visible part in the web page, that is body part. Body element contains everything we want to show in our browser, whatever we want, that contains within the body. And here there are actually two elements within the body represent in our example. One is obviously heading 1, that actually the very first level of heading, and afterward the paragraph 1. Welcome to School of Next Gen. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. HTML actually used to creating web pages and web applications. HTML describes the structure of web pages or web. We have seen the right side corner, and the HTML consists of series of elements. The line of the HTML code actually the element, and elements are presented by tags, and the tags considered as the hidden keywords or commands incorporate in HTML code, and the capability to define how the browser will display the contents and formats within the web pages is actually the HTML code. And the tag name is specified between the angle brackets. Most of the HTML tag have two sections. One is starting, another will be closing tag. We'll describe a little bit later. And obviously the each of the element have, as I said, the starting and the closing tag, obviously the very first P tag is representing the opening and the front slash P is representing the closing tag. Obviously there are two tags we have seen. One is for paragraph tag, another one is the heading tag. In dynamic web page or website, an image improves the design and the appearance of the web page. For adding pictures into the web page, use the image tag. So, today's video, we are going to give some more info about image tag and so on. So, image tag actually, IMG stands for image, right? So, if we would like to add this tag within the HTML tag, it will not work because it can't work by itself. In that case, we have to use some attribute which can provide additional info about the elements and work properly to give a proper result, import some image from somewhere to the web page or the output. In that case, obviously, we have to use a source function or source attribute. And we know in attribute have got two parts. One is attribute name, and of course there will be a attribute value. And of course image is a tag which have no closing tag. It means image tag is a empty tag. The tag which haven't got the closing tag, that is called the empty tag. And this attribute of this source provide additional information, and obviously this tag define the characteristics and the behavior and influence how the element displayed and the function of the source, right? So let's put this tag. Of course the source, and there will be a value image, and of course the value will have some extension. When it is picture, then obviously have some extension. There are a couple of extension. I'll talk more about these things later in another video. Anyways, so here the source actually telling this file will import from somewhere by the use of this attribute source tag. Now run the tag. And it not actually working. Why it's not working? So after clicking the run button, we got the image. Okay, let's change this heading, the winter coat. So this is a website where we are actually showing an image of a jacket or coat for winter, and the model is a woman. Anyways, the image is image girl, and this is a JPG format. Anyways, now as you see the image is very large. Let's give a value like width equals to 5, not 500, let's consider 300, and height will be, let's say, 250, right? So now run. Okay, now a proper image. If it is website, the white portion is a website. Consider this is a website. In that case, the image actually are appropriate for this website. We can make it smaller or larger up to the width and height attribute, up to you. Anyways, And there is one more things we can change that is very important, like the winter code. This is actually from the left side. Now if you'd like to change the winter code, will be middle. So how we can change this one? So obviously, as I said, every single tag have got an attribute tag. So if we change this one, I mean the heading tag, so of course we have to add or provide our attribute tag. So if we add align equals to, it means we have to put a value of align. So align is a attribute tag. If we write down center, so this will come into the middle, right? So hope you understand this. An image can improve the design and appearance of any web page. For adding pictures into web page means a lot. But when we are adding any types of pictures, any format, so we have to write down the image tag, right? But if we write image tag, let's run the button, so it's not working. What does it mean actually? So image tag is not working by itself. So in that case, we have to use an attribute. So here is an attribute called source, and this source and imagegirl.jpg, it means that the file have extension that is jpg format. So source is the attribute name and this one is the attribute value, and obviously this one working. Let's run. Okay, so it's working. It means that there is somewhere a picture from source attribute taken that picture into the web page, right? And we can see image haven't got any closing tag. It means image is an empty tag. By the definition of empty tag, the tag haven't got any closing tag called the empty tag. So image tag is a empty tag. How it's actually working, this source attribute tag, right? Source attribute helps to specify the image's source. So as I said, there is source, say C drive or some other server somewhere the picture have reserved, and this source actually taken that picture into the web page, and the instruction of the web browser from which location it must fetch the particular picture. In other words, we can say the specify the path. So source attribute takes the path or URL in the value section, and obviously it come into the our final output in the web page, right? And as we see, the picture is very large, right? In that case, we have to write down, say width. This is another attribute, and of course we have to write down some value. Let's write down 250, and of course we have to write down height, and the value of height will be, let's say 200, and let's see how it's look like. Let's click the run button, and of course this is a very small picture and we can see very clearly, and of course the web page, the output white section is clear and looks much better as before, right? Now there is one problem. You can say the picture is in left side, and of course the heading as well in the left side. So what to do? Let's do one thing. This winter coat, the heading should be in the middle, and of course the picture as well in the middle. So what we have to do? So as I said, all the tags have got attribute tag. In that case, obviously heading also have a attribute tag. So what we have to write down? Let's write down align, right? So align is an attribute tag, means where should be the line belongs to within the web page. So align means where it need to be belongs to within the web page. Align, let's write down center, right? The value will be center. So let's click. So winter code, the winter code will be within the middle of the page, right? Same as if you like to write align center, and of course the image will jump into the middle. It's not working. Why it's not working? Let's try. So align center. Here the attribute tag for image align center will not work, and it will deprecate it in HTML sometimes, right? So actually the image attribute tag, the align attribute, is set an image of an alignment relative to surrounding elements, allowing horizontal or vertical positioning. In that case, if you like to write here the value, say left, right? So definitely the image will place at the left of the web page. Now, if you like to write here instead of left, obviously it is by default in left position. If it is right down in right position, so it will go on the right direction, right? And if we would like to write here middle, so it definitely coming in the middle position. It actually in a middle position because the image is very large compared to the website from here to here. So if it is in middle position, it means that it will accommodate within this region, but it actually not working. As I said, some value will be deprecated in HTML, and obviously for alignment of image only left and center is working